Good day, everyone. We are the Group 2, and our lesson for today is all about global governance. So, what is our learning outcomes? At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to define global governance, discuss the role of global governance in international relations, discuss limitations to effective global governance. So, what is global governance? Global governance refers to the complex web of institutions, rules, norms, and processes that govern interactions and relationships among various actors on a global scale. So basically, ang global governance is the things that a group of nations do in order to solve the problem that affects everyone. So ang global governance is more on processes and solutions. So there are so many issues that encompasses global governance. So one of these is economic development. One of mga issue dira like kanang economic trading, economic kanang growth, na apo dira ang labor standards, as well as any issues concerning economic development. We also have human rights, like does all nations tanan bang citizens nila nakaranas og human rights? So we also have environmental protection, issues such as climate change and global warming nga halos tanang nation kay nakaranas or naka-experience ani. We also have peace and security such as mitigating war and conflicts. So there's so many example of global governance, but three of those are the United Nations, which has a range of specialized agencies, programs, and funds that addresses issues like health, education, climate change, peace, and security. We also have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which sets out fundamental human rights that are recognized and protected by countries around the world. We also have the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, which established a framework for countries to work together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impacts of climate change. So, what is international organization? So it is a group established by a treaty or international law with its own legal personality composed primarily of member states. So ang international law is an organization nga kasagaran ang mga members kay nation, state or countries. So mura siya og kanang group of nations that kanang they are working together or are collaborating together in order to solve problems that affecting everyone. So mo na ang international organization. Ang member kay different countries around the world, then naa sila'y purpose or naa sila'y common goal. So um, aside for ana, dili pod siya necessarily nga ang dapat matawag na mag international organization if ang member kay nation or countries. But there are also exemptions or entities like firms and non-governmental organizations. So we have three types of international organization. We have worldwide or global organizations. So these organizations, ang members nila kay different countries across the world. So mo na ang worldwide or global organization, ang iyang mga member kay kanang gikan sa klase-klaseng nasod sa tibuok kalibutan. So such as United Nations, World Health Organization, World Bank, and International Monetary Fund. Well, if we talk about regional organizations, a member lang ani is based on a specific region. Like for example, kani nga organization ang makaapil lang kay gikan sa region sa Europe, gikan sa region sa Africa, region sa Asia. So, ang example ani niya kay European Union, African Union, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and Association of Southeast Asian Nation. So, mapansin nimo, kumbaga kung ikumpara nimo siya sa Philippines ba is more provincial lang gani. Nga sa province sa Davao del Norte ang makaapil lang kay New Corelia, Panabo, and ana. So we also have economic organization. So kani nga mga organization dili siya mag-base sa geographical location sa mga member. Mag-base siya sa inyong common goal or common interest ninyo, which is economic growth or economic development. So mag-create mo mga economic policy goals. So these organizations, for example, the World Trade Organization and International Monetary Fund. So, sa unang panahon manggod, kaning international organization, ang ilang yung main purpose is for the countries all over the world maka-express sila sa ilahang mga problems and issues. But, they don't have the power to make decision or change anything. Like, kumbaga, naalang mo dito aba para mag-express lang, pero wala may solution or wala may buhaton. But over time, because of the development as well as kanang mga changes throughout the years, ang international organization has become or kanang ang mga members niya kay they develop their own ideas or solutions sa mga problems nga ilang ginakaharap. That is why mo nay magpahimo sila og policies or reforms nga kana siya bisan pag wala ning sugot or dili agree ang isa nila ka member, wala sila mabuhat because they are obligated to follow those reforms or policies. So mao na siya ang influence sa international organization. So ang pinaka-importanteng example ana kay ang International Monetary Fund, where they have economic experts that create policies and regulations of what they think that are good for the global economy. So kana siya ipasaka na nila sa ilahang kuan na approval sa with various, siguro na sila voting sa mga various members. So bisan pag dili mo sugot ang isa ka member ana, obligated siya nga mo follow because that is their responsibility as a member of the organization. So it shows daw diri nga ang international organization has a great influence or has a power to influence various nations bisan pag dili nimo siya kaugalingong kabubuton. So that is in my part and the rest will be discussed and explained by my group mates. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. Allow me to discuss the power of international organization. So, first, international organization have the power of classification. So, classification, when we say classification, it is not just about sorting things. It is also defines what things are, and it has ana siya dako kayo na impact, no, especially kung ang hisgutan is international organization. As we all know that UN is a involved everything from peacemaking to fighting poverty, and not just that, they also have powerful tool, which is the ability to define things. So one of its example is the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, so or the UNHCR. So that decides, this UNHCR decides who qualifies as a refugees, no. Sila ang nag-identify ba kung unsa ning refugees, or sila ang naghimo og qualities kanang kung ikaw ba ay kung ang isa ka tao is refugees, no, mga qualities para may mong refugees. So refugees kaning mo ni siya ang mga tao na kanang gipahawa bitaw sa ilahang sariling country, no, murag pabalhinon sa lain country. So mo na siya. So this definition isn't just a theoretical exercise. So it has a real world consequences because it determines who has the right to seek asylum and who states are obligated to help, no. So kani is makita na to is not jud sila ang kaning international organization is na jud sila power to classify things, no. Kani pa lang silang gihimo sa UNHCR, no, na ilang gi-identify unsa mga qualities para sa mga refugees, and also not just that but kanang unsa ang gina-determine nila kung unsa to na mga country pod ang obligado na kanang mag-help, no. And because of this definition, so countries around the world have to accept refugees entering their borders, no. Ang kanang mga refugees, so ang mga countries around the world, no, syempre obligado sila na mag-accept so ang mga refugees sa ilang borders. So you see how classifying something like refugees can have a direct impact on people's lives and the way countries interact.
Again, good morning everyone. So now let's tackle about the second iOS. So second iOS, the point of this is shaping meaning and shaping policy. So the first point of this second iOS, the first is the power of languages. So the iOS have the ability or the power to influence the meaning, like this, like for example, kaya nila mugamit og mga words to change how people think or how we think about things. Mura ginakaya nila nga may manipulate ang isa ka tawo nga talaga, like for it's like when someone says that's a really cool idea, suddenly the idea seems much better. So when we say cool means like more interesting gani, like more interesting, wow, cool, like interesting kayo siya paminaw, like nga na, then suddenly the idea seems much better. Like, di ba, ang better kaysa sa cool. Ang better is suitable yun na siya, more appropriate yun na siya daraa. Then ang cool, like more interesting lang. So mura ganyan nga na ganin nila ang kanang muna ang iOS. Mura ginaano lang nila ba, ginamanipulate nilang isa ka tao nga or isa ka kuan or kanang words nga like moto, no, it's what I said earlier, that cool and better. Then the second one is impact and policy. So katong giingon gain na moto sa first is a power of languages, second is impact of and policy. So the influence on language directly affects policy decision, as iOS are seen as reliable sources of information. So now think of international organization or iOS like the United Nations or UN as experts of everyone listens to. When they say something, people take it seriously because they trusted. Now imagine this organization can change how we understand words. If the UN says security means protecting the environment, so when ang tao moingon nga ay ang katong UN nagingon sila nga security means protecting, so ang ilang ginapasagawas ba nga ang kaning security na gamit nga i-protect ang ilang environment, people might start thinking about environmental protection when they hear security. They can make countries create laws to protect the environment because they're taking UN's definition of security seriously. So, international organization can influence what countries do by changing how we understand words. So, akong gisragay na, sa nila gipag-change ang mga words, kaya na i-change sa iOS ang kanilang mga words. And then, because they're trusted, their definition of words can have a big impact on how countries make decision. So that's for the impact and the policy. So now, defining key concept. So iOS play a crucial role in defining concept like security and development, as what I've said earlier, that katong anong ginano sa UN ba nga katong say security means protecting the environment. People might start thinking about environment protection when they hear security. And then which shape policy approaches. So take note for this that for example, UN and security. The UN's involving definition of security to include environmental concerns demonstrates how iOS can reshape policy through the languages of the person or the nation, like unsa mo to kang istorya kagaina, and katulang siya no moto siya ang second iOS, and that's all. Thank you.
So hello, good day everyone. My name is Romel C. Escobedo, and now let's discuss further the what is an international organization. Now, naabot na ta sa final IOs. So what are final IOs? So first is the norm diffusion. So from the word norm is naandan or mga kanang murag common nga ginahimo or mga naan na jud siya specifically. So the definition is spreading the international organization have the power, have the impact on influencing their member states because the international organization is made up of experts and mga researchers na hawd na sa ilang field. So ang katong mga countries nga kanang mga member sa katong international states is mutuo jud sila og naa sila salig sa katong mga international organization because na naman gud sila alam kanang daghan sila alam og kanang gina-recognize nila ang power sa usa ka international organization. So they have an influence, they have an impact to their member states. For example, the World Bank. So World Bank economists setting development standards. So in that sense, ang katong World Bank is nasili power because a World Bank is an example of international organization. So World Bank has the power to set development standards for the betterment of their member states. For example, let's say magkuan sila og kanang project nga or policy nga kaning mga dato nga countries magpiputag another money to support this project, to support this ingani, to support this ingana. Nasa lay power to create those changes, to change those norms. So next is the IO's influence. So we can't deny the fact that international organization has the power, has the influence to influence their member states or kay ganun nakaingon ko nga member states lang because international organizations just like for example ASEAN region. So ASEAN region is na siya ang katulang siya nga organization is ang mga member lang ato is within the Southeast Asian countries. So ingana mo lang na siya ang murag sakop ana but in the global scale muna to siya si mga United Nations, si World Bank, si IMF, so muna to sila. So the IOs, the international organization has a positive risk and critique. So first is positive. So positive na sila positive message, na sila positive nga kanang tumong sa katong mga countries or their member states. Just like environmental conservation para sa kuan like they have kanang implemented policies and regulations para lessen ang carbon imprint sa ato ang country. Next is human rights. So they are uplifting human rights and women's rights, diba? So we can deny manggod nga up until now nahagyapoy mga tao nga marag na down gani or delete na down ka ng pinagkaitan gani sa ilang mga rights just like the Arab countries. Di man sila tumadinay nga ang katudyo mga babae sa Arab countries it still needs for kanang murag dili nila kaya mulihok sa kanang ila-ila lang kay need nila mo sa kanang murag need nila power sa ilang papa, silang asawa kanang dili nila kay sa base ako na ibalan ha ang kwan man gud sa ang mga babae man gud sa mga Arab countries is dili sila pwede mag-drive og ang kotse nga sila-sila lang. So dapat sila mananghid or na sila authorization sa ilahang papa. Kung dili silang papa silang asawa, kung dili pa sila minyo tapos wala sila papa sa ilahang igsuon nga lalaki. Bisag manghud pa na niya, kailangan siya mo submit og dapat na siya authority, na siya gisugdan siya. So next is risk. So risk ana is dili na to mapugos ang murag dili na to makuan gani marag ma-judge ang ubang countries kay for example we are implementing human rights we are implementing women's rights pero dili to makuan nga mutuo to sila kay nga no namagud sila klase-klase nga mga o gani ka nang na sila mga cultural norms gani na uy apart na siya sa mong culture nga ingani jud ang babae o ingani lang ang power sa mga babae ingana gani so we are it is a risk pod nga mag-implement kag ingana kay basig dili nila masabtan o dili nila i-recognize to siya nga um, mga policies or regulations. Next is critique. So according to Joseph Stiglitz, condemnation of IMF's uniform recommendation. So si Joseph Stiglitz nag-ingon siya sa IMF nga ay nag-comment siya sa IMF because IMF is International Monetary Fund. So ang IMF magod nagsulti siya sa mga different countries or member states sa IMF nga the same lang iyahang recommendation, the same lang iyahang mga um, suggestions to those countries. But it, according to Joseph Stiglitz, is dili siya applicable because those countries has um, different situation, different problems, different mga laylay siya silang problema nga dili applicable ang isa lang ka solution or dili applicable ang isa lang ka concept of resolving those problems. So that's the end of what is an international organization. So thank you so much.
Hi, I am Joarat Chapakit, and for the next topic, we will talk about the United Nations. So, next slide. So, the United Nations, or the UN, was established in 1945 after the devastation of the World War II, and its primary purpose was to prevent another global conflict like the two world wars, making it a successor of the League of Nations, which has failed in its mission. And since its founding, the UN has largely succeeded in averting another world war, which is the testament to its role in maintaining the global peace. And the United Nations has five active organs. These this includes the General Assembly, which I will focus on later. Next is the Security Council, which is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. The third one is the International Court of Justice, in which it disputes between countries and gives advisory opinions. Next is the Economic and Social Council, in which it coordinates the UN's economic, social, and environmental work. And the last one is the Secretariat, in which it is responsible for the day to day operations of the UN. So now let us first focus on the General Assembly. So the General Assembly is the UN's main deliberative and representative body, in which what makes it unique is its inclusivity. So every member country, and there are 193 as of now. So it functions as a global town hall wherein countries can discuss various international issues. For example, the peace, security, development, and the human rights. So the General Assembly elects a president every year, and one of the most notable moments in its early years was when Carlo P. Romulo, a Filipino diplomat who served as the president of the United Nations from 1949 to 1950. So his election was significant for the Philippines and smaller nations, showing that even less powerful countries could have a leading role on the global stage.
The United Nations is divided into five active organs, and the Security Council is one of these main organs. Ms. Jabakid has already discussed the first organ, which is the General Assembly. Now, let's delve into the next organ, and that is the Security Council. Now, what is Security Council. The UN Security Council is one of the five main organs of the United Nations and is considered the most powerful body within the UN system. Its primary responsibility is to maintain global peace and security. The SC plays a crucial role in addressing international conflicts and threats, making decisions that can impact the safety and stability of nations worldwide. So in here, the Security Council, it is considered the most powerful part of the United Nations. Now, if you can remember, if we say General Assembly, it includes representatives from every country and allows them to discuss global issues. Now, if we say Security Council naman, it is the reason why many view it as the most powerful part of the UN because Security Council is the body that has the authority to make important decisions, of course, related to international peace and security. The Security Council has 15 members, but not all of them have the same level of influence. So we have in here 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. Now, if we say 5 permanent members, the P5 countries are the China, France, Russia, the UK, and the United States. So these countries are called permanent because they have been members of the SC since the United Nations was founded in 1945, right after World War II. Now, unlike the other members, the P5 countries do not have to be re-elected, so they stay on the Security Council permanently, which gives them or yes, so which gives them a lot of influence. Now, in this other side, we have in here the 10 non permanent members. Now, these countries are elected by the General Assembly for 2 years term. Every 2 years, the GA votes to replace some of these members with new ones. So, for them to ensure that there are different regions of the world that are represented in the SC. Let's talk about their powers and functions. What does the Security Council do? The SC's primary responsibility is to maintain international peace and security. Its main job is to prevent wars, resolve conflicts, and handle serious global threats like terrorism or invasions. Now, here's how the Security Council operates. Now, we have in here identify conflicts threatening peace. Now, in here, the Security Council reviews situations worldwide to decide if there's a threat to peace or an act of aggression. So, when one country attacks another. So, for example, in here, if two countries are on the verge of war, so the SC steps in to assess the situation. Now, the next one is suggest peaceful negotiations. So the SC first encourage countries involved in a conflict to resolve their issues peacefully, usually through negotiations or mediation. The goal in here, or the goal of Security Council, is to prevent violence by having countries talk to each other instead of fighting. In here also, they don't just suggest, but they are also promoting peaceful solutions. So if peaceful decisions fail or the conflict escalates, so the Security Council can take more powerful measures to restore peace. Now, the next one is impose sanctions or authorize force. So, the SC can impose penalties on a country. Sanctions might include stopping trade, freezing financial assets, or banning travel. Now, by this, ma-pressure tong countries, and this countries, or this puts pressure rather. So this puts pressure on countries to change their behavior without using military force. And in authorizing the use of force naman in extreme cases, the Security Council can allow countries to use military action. So this happens when the SC that decides that peace can't be achieved by negotiations or sanctions alone. So when here we have in here the example of United Nations Security Council power, and this is the Gulf War that happened in 1990 to 1991. The Council authorized military force to expel Iraq from Kuwait. Now, it shows right here that it is a clear example of the SC's authority was during that war. So in 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. So the SC responded by passing a resolution that allowed a coalition of countries led by the United States to use military force to drive Iraq out of Kuwait. Now, because of this military action was approved by the Security Council, it was seen as legal under international law. So that is the example of how SC's ability take decisive action when peace is threatened. Now let's proceed in this slide and talk about the power of the veto. So P5 countries can veto any resolution. One veto blocks an SC decision and key in global diplomacy. And now in this part, the P5 countries have a special power called the veto. So it gives them ability to block any major decision or resolution made by the SC. So even if all the other 14 members of the SC agree on resolution, if just one P5 country votes no, the resolution cannot pass. So this veto power gives the P5 countries enormous influence over international decisions. So it means that no significant action can be taken by the Security Council unless all the P5 members agree or at least don't oppose it. Now, in here, we have the example of vetoes on the Syrian civil war. Now, a good example of the P5's veto power is seen in this war. In recent years, several countries proposed resolutions in the SC to take action against the Syrian government due to its action during the conflict. However, Russia and China used their veto power to block these resolutions because they supported the Syrian government. So, as a result, no military intervention or large scale action against the Syrian government could move forward. So that is an example how the veto power can stop the SC from acting even in cases of severe conflict. Now let's proceed and talk about why does the P5 exist. So in here represents the major allied powers of World War II, established based on the idea of great power diplomacy to reflect the most influential nations and designed to ensure the involvement of the world's leading powers in maintaining global stability. So the system of the P5 comes from an older diplomatic idea of great power politics. This idea recognized that the most powerful countries in the world should have a larger say in global decisions. So when the UN was created after World War II, the countries that won the war are the China, France, Russia, then the Soviet Union, which is the United Kingdom and the United States. So they were given permanent seats on the Security Council as part of this great power system. So the P5 members were seen as key players in maintaining global stability and preventing another world war. Because of their power and influence, they were given the unique ability to veto decisions, ensuring that they wouldn't be forced into actions they strongly opposed. So So, in summary, the UN Security Council, or the SC, is one of the most important parts of the United Nations. So, it's responsible for keeping peace and security in the world. It has 15 members, including the permanent five who have the special power to veto decisions. The SC also helps solve conflicts by using peaceful solutions, but it can also impose sanctions rather, or allow military action if needed. So the P5 veto power shows how important these countries are in the decision making process. So the SC plays a major role in helping the UN maintain peace.
So, good day everyone. Um, Now I will discuss the UNISOC. The UNISOC which means the Economic and Social Council. So, ECOSOC. So, ECOSOC is the third organ, or the third UN, or United Nations organ, or I mean the third organ of the United Nations is the Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC, in which is the principal body of coordination, policy review policy, dialogue, and recommendation on social and and environmental issues, as well as implementation of internationally um, agreed development. And under UN, or United Nations Charter on ECOSOC, as the ECOSOC is responsible for promoting higher standards of living, full employment, and economic, social, and health problems. Health problems and encouraging universal respect for human rights and fundamental problems. So, again, the main function of ECOSOC is for daghan na siya, like coordination, policy formulation, and and so the 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 United Nations um, uh, the United Nations Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC, is a critical organ of the United Nations and plays pivotal roles in promoting international economic and social cooperation, plays a vital role in addressing specific issues related to economic and social development through its various um, progress and initiatives. So ECOSOC is helping also to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development goals and build more equitable and prosperous world. And also, it has 54 members elected for 3 years terms, but currently, it is the UNISOC is the UN central platforms for discussion on sustainable development. So that's all for um, my discussion, and thank you.
So good day everyone. So let's continue about the organ of the UN. So the fourth organ of the UN is the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ. So the task of the International Court of Justice is to settle in accordance with international law legal disputes submitted to it by states, and to give advisory opinions referred to it by authorized United Nations organs and special agencies. So this organ has a two task, which is which is to settle in accordance with international law, and also to give advisory opinions. And this International Court of Justice is to settle a legal disputes that is submitted by the states or between the two states. So, for example, is the United Kingdom and the Albania. These two states has a problem within each other, or has a na sila mga speculations, or na sila mga hindi pagkakaintindihan. So that's why they decided to submit their case or their problem to the International Court of Justice in order for them to settle down, and in order for them to avoid or prevent a more or kanang mas grabe pa nga mga panghitabo. The second one is the opinion. This time, those states that are nangayog mga opinion about sa problems, and problems about silang states, and they can also give a opinions and advice to the other state that is member of the UN, especially in terms when such as a legal questions. Ang mga state is mangutana sila about mga legal questions, and also ang katong mga pangutana is gina-refer to siya sa mga authorized United Nations organs or specialized agencies. So as simple as that the International Court of Justice is to settle a problem or a legal disputes or hindi pagkakaintindihan ng dalawang states, and also to give an advices to the states nga member sa UN that is seeking a questions or legal questions. And that's all about the International Court of Justice.
Now we are down to discuss the fifth active organ of the UN, which is the UN Secretariat. So UN Secretariat is one of the main part of the United Nations, which is the UN. It is responsible for running the daily work of the UN. So the Secretary General is the head of the Secretariat and oversees its operation. So the UN Secretariat is the administrative and executive branch of the UN, no? Siya ang responsible for carrying out the day-to-day work of the organization. So si UN Secretariat is nag-play siya o crucial part or role sa global governance. It is because sila ang nag-a-address sa international issues and nag-maintain sila sa peace, and foster the cooperation among the nation. So the UN Secretariat sila ang nagatabang help to organize sa mga meetings, nag-prepare sila sa reports, and nagahimo sila decision made by the UN's other part, like the General Assembly and the Security Council. So sila ang at what I have said earlier that they handle peacekeeping mission. Sila ang naga-handle sa peacekeeping mission, how to keep peace in globally or internationally, Then sila ang naghimuog law to protect the people, then mga human rights and economic development. But also not that those that I mentioned, but also they address the global issues like climate change, how to help our environment to become more sustainable and productive.
Good morning, everyone. So today, let's move on to the topic about the challenges of the UN or United Nations. So before that, I will discuss to you when the United Nations established. So the United Nations or UN established in 1945 faces numerous challenges in its effort to promote peace, security, development, and human rights worldwide. These challenges can be broadly recognized as strategic and international in nature. So, um, mayroong dalawang challenges or part of challenges ang UN. First is ang strategic challenges and the second one is the international challenges. So dito muna tayo sa first challenges, yung strategic challenges. So number one, member state cooperation. The UN relies heavily on the cooperation and support of its member states to effectively implement its policies and initiatives. However, diverging national interests, geopolitical rivalries, and power struggles among member state often hinder consensus building and decision making process within the UN. So, ibig sabihin no, the UN needs all its member countries to work together to get things done. So, pero minsan ang mga countries kasi may mga different na goals or disagree on how to handle things, which makes it hard for the UN to make decision na moagree ang tanan. So dito naman tayo no sa second one, which is the financing and resources. The UN's operation and program requires substantial financial resources. However, securing adequate and predictable funding from member state remains a persistent challenge. This limits the UN's capacity to address global issues comprehensively and respond swiftly to crisis. So, meaning the UN needs money to do its work, like tabangan ang tao sa ilang needs or stopping wars. Pero, getting enough money from all the countries nga parts sa UN is hard jud or kanang lisod gyud no, meaning the UN doesn't always have enough to help us much as it would like. So mao na siya ang problem pod sa kanang UN or United Nation. So the next is structural reforms. The UN's decision-making and governance structures are often criticized for being slow, cumbersome, and reflecting the power dynamics of the post-World War II era. Reforms to enhance the organization effectiveness and responsiveness for face resistance from member states, resulting in limited progress. Meaning, the UN's way of making decision and running itself is outdated and slow. Actually, gusto ng mga tao to make it work better, pero changing o baguhin ang rules is hard to them, no? Dahil some countries don't want to give up their power. And kaya isa sa mga challenges na yan ang fini-face ng UN. Let's proceed to the international challenges. Ito naman is for international pangkalahatan na challenges. So number one is conflict resolution. So this is the first challenges for the international, no? Conflict resolution. The UN plays a crucial role in resolving conflicts and maintaining international peace and security. However, it faces challenges in mediating complex conflicts, particularly when powerful states are involved or when there is a lack of political will among conflicting parties to engage in peaceful negotiation. The UN actually tries to help other countries stop fighting and to make peace. Pero mahirap kung ang isang country are powerful or sabihin natin ang lahat ng country are powerful, are involved and kanang when the countries fighting don't really want to stop, so kanang mahirap kung ang isang country ay powerful dahil may sarili talaga silang gusto. Then hindi natin dili na to mapigilan ang kung gusto nila na i-stop ang kanang mubuhat ba og kanang kaguluhan or to make the countries kanang peaceful. So mao na ang isa sa mga challenges na piniface or kanang giatubang karon sa United Nations. So the second one is the geopolitical division. The UN operates in a world characterized by geopolitical division, rivalries, and competing interests among major powers. This division often impede consensus building and hinder effective decision making it difficult for the UN to take the decisive action or critical global issues. So imagine the UN is a group of friends trying to solve a problem, pero some of the friends are also rivals with iba't ibang ideas and goals. Mahirap ito sa kanila to agree on a solution, and the UN can act as quickly as strongly as it needs to. So mahirap pagka ng maraming countries na may iba't ibang ideas at goals, hindi ito makokontrol ng UN or United Nations. The third one is about sovereignty concerns. So the principle of state sovereignty can sometimes limit the UN's ability to intervene in international conflicts or address human rights abuses within member states, balancing the needs of intervention against respecting national sovereignty remains a complex challenge for the UN. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, the UN or the United Nations wants to help when countries are fighting with themselves or treating their people kanang badly good. So, mahirap talaga siyang labanan ng UN. Pero each country is supposed to be in charge for its own affairs. Meaning, hindi lahat ng problema mafi-fix. Sabi ko nga kanina, hindi lahat ng problema mafi-fix ng UN or United Nations. Even kahit gusto nilang i-fix ang mga ito. The last but not the least, rising nationalism and populism. The rise of nationalist and populist movement in various parts of the world poses challenges to the UN's mission of promoting multilateralism, international cooperation, and respect for human rights. These movements often prioritize narrow national interest over global cooperation and undermining the UN's effort. Ibig sabihin nito, imagine ang UN is a group of friends working together to make the world a better place or to make i-make yung bansa natin na kanang better or mas i-improve nila, di ba? Pero some people are starting to think their own country is mas importante than to working with other countries. So gusto nilang mag-focus lang sa kanilang sariling country and don't want to help other countries. Mahirap ito sa UN to do its job because it needs everyone to cooperate or to participate, no? So itong lahat ng binanggit ko, ito ang mga challenges ng United Nation, no, na sinasabi ko sa inyo. So iba't iba ang mga challenges ng UN, pero lahat naman ay tungkol lamang sa ating bansa or tungkol lamang sa ating nation, sa ating country na gustong i-improve ng UN, pero may mga naadyo mga kanang babag na dili mabuhat sa UN, dili ma-control sa UN. So that's it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Ajas Marian C. Donke, and I'm going to continue the report about the challenges of the United Nations. Okay, so Ms. Domando has already reported several parts of the challenges of the United Nations. Now I am also going to discuss three of those problems. So we have the humanitarian crisis, the climate change, and the technological threats. Okay, so let's start with humanitarian crisis. So as we all know that when we say the word United Nations, the first thing that comes into our mind is united or unity. It is the United Nations responsibility to make all the countries in the world become united or every nation become united. So one of their problem is humanitarian crisis. So kani siya is mga different na mga series of events that possess critical threat to the health, safety, security, or well-being of a community or large group of people, often over a wide area. So, siguro part ani is kanang mga health problems. Safety and security, kung feeling ba sa mga tao na naanak the country, are they safe? Are they able to eat? So those are the different kinds of humanitarian crisis. Now, one example that I can give you is the issue of the Myanmar's military right now, because there is an issue here in Myanmar, which is there's a military coup. So what is a military coup? So there is like a military violence in their country that is happening right now. So the Myanmar military, also known as the Tatmadaw, seized power after losing the 2020 elections. Okay, so they lost the 2020 elections to Aung San Suu Kyi's party. Okay, so wala sila nadaog. And they think that the election was fraudulent. So that's why dili nila madawat ang ilahang kapilde. So they were taking control of the country. They're having a civil war in their country right now. And so after hand ang power sa civilian government, nasuko sila. So karon is naay civil war sa ilahang country. And as we all know, if there is a war, people inside that country will be affected. Di ba? So magka-cause og hunger, scarcity sa ilahang community. So that's why isa na siya sa mga problems sa United Nations right now, because they have to, of course, unify their country again. So kailangan magbuhat sila og paraan para maayos nilang ang ilahang problema sa ilahang politics. Okay. Now, next one is the climate change. All right. So climate change, when we say climate change, is the change of climate. We already know that one. So the United Nations are addressing global environmental challenges. So isa na siya sa ilang mga responsibility to address global environmental challenges, including climate change is a growing property that demands international cooperation and significant resources. So one of their responsibility is, of course, to make a solution to the climate change problem. So, unsaon Manila, unsay mga buhaton sa mga countries pag naay climate change. Like for example, El Nino, grabe ka init. So, of course, pag naay El Nino is maglisod ang mga farmers kay walay tubig. So, dapat makabuhat og paraan ang United Nations para ma-solve ni siya na problema. Okay, another example of that is, of course, mga natural disasters, which is, of course, di dyan nato mapugnan. Like ang bagyo, lindol, hindi natin yan mapipigilan. So, another example of that is the Typhoon Yagi that just recently happened. So, of course, daghang naapektuhan diri sa Philippines, also in Vietnam. And the last time I checked, there were 50 people died in Vietnam due to Typhoon Yagi. So they were not prepared, not really prepared about the typhoon. no? So it is also very challenging for the United Nations because they are responsible sa mga tao na naapektuhan dito na lugar. Like, of course, right now, daghan mga naguba na balay. Wala sila pagkaon. So, they have to extend their help to the affected countries, no, na salanta ng bagyong Yagi. Now, after the second one, let's move on to the third one, which is the technological threats. So, when we see technological threats, okay, the first thing that comes into our mind is technology, social media. So, as we all know, no, kanang grabe na jud ka, ka-innovative, grabe na jud ka ang rising sa technology, sa social media, sa atoang country, no? Dili na sa atong country, but sa tibuok kalibutan. And technological threat is one of the significant types of crisis or crisis scenarios caused by the human application of science and technology. As digital technologies become more widely used in commerce, governance, and social life, they pose new challenges of human security. Respondents to a World Economic Forum survey cited technological risks such as digital inequality, cyber attacks, data fraud and theft, and concentrated digital power among the most imminent threats. Okay? So, okay, to make this idea short is daghan na kay mga digital technologies, okay? And dili lang mga civilian ang nagagamit ana. Also ang government, okay? So, mga different companies like banks, di ba? Nagagamit na sila og digital technology. And one of the examples of that is the online banking. So, as we all know, na grabe na ang pag-spread ng online banking even though wala kay BDO, BPI na mga account, na atay Maya, na atay GCash, na easily lang nato ma-access. And kana siya is technological threat na siya. Why? Because there are a lot of issues, right? Na in GCash, na wala ilang kwarta, ikawat, ana. So, isa na siya sa mga technological threats na apektado ang United Nations. Also, of course, kanang spy, di ba? Naay mga issue na sa mga naaday mga application nagibuhat ang China para makaspy sa US, and vice versa, feeling po sa China na yung mga ginabuhat na application ayan ang United States para ma-spy ang ilahang country. So that's why ang unsay gibuhat sa China, gi-block nila ang Facebook sa ilahang country. Okay, gi-block nila ang Facebook sa ilahang country. Dili pwede mo gamit og Facebook sa ilahang country kay they do believe that kanang mga digital technologies isa na siya sa mga ways para makaspy sa ilahang country. Okay, so muna siyang isa sa mga challenge of the United Nations, which is the technological threats. Okay, so I think that wraps our lesson for today. So I was able to report about humanitarian crisis, climate change, and technological threats. Now, this time, let's wrap up our lesson. So in our report, we were able to discuss 3 parts, which is the international organization. So we were able to discuss the first IO, second IO, and the third IO. Okay, mga international organizations, we already know that one. So for example, is the IMF, the World Bank. Okay, so those are one of the examples of international organizations. Another one is the active organs of United Nations. So what are the 5 active organs? Actually, there were 6, pero gihawa na nila tong ika-6, no? So the 5 active organs are General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, ICJ, Secretariat, and yeah, that's it. Actually, the 6th one is the Trusteeship Council, but it was inactive na. So removed na siya sa organs of United Nations. And lastly is, of course, the challenges of the United Nations. So we were able to discuss that one also, katong mga climate change, mga technological advancements. So kato siya ang mga different kinds of challenges of the United Nations. And I think that's it for our report. Thank you so much everyone for watching and for listening. I hope you learned something and have a great day. Goodbye for now.